Hotel sign-in? Meeting 30? What's our van time? When's happy hour? Oh, if you have ever been part of a flight crew, you know this is exactly what happens as soon as you show up to check in. Especially if you're me, because you know I love my free breakfast. But 100%, if you do the long haul flights with a bunch of flight attendants, you know, sometimes we're getting off with 15 or 16 flight attendants somewhere. This is exactly what's going on when people are checking in for breakfast. Aviation memes. Number 6. Coming up. Hey 7-4 crew, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name's Kelsey. I'm a 747 pilot. My channel 7-4 Gear is all about aviation. It's been a while since I've done an aviation memes video, and I know it's time to do another one when I start getting tagged daily from people on Instagram. And I have to thank all of you for sending these memes in, because without you tagging me in these memes or DMing me these memes, there's no way I'd be able to keep finding all these funny memes that you all sent to me. Also, people are starting to send me meme videos, and I have 2 or 3 that have been sent to me, but if you have an aviation memes video that you think is funny, send me one, because I would love to do an aviation memes that's just video. Maybe we'll do it for number 7. So keep sending me these aviation meme videos if you see them, and maybe we'll do an aviation memes video one, which would be so fun to do. All right, let's get into it. If you screw up just this much, you'll be flying a 737 full of passengers out of LaGuardia. You know I love Top Gun. Obviously, if you're on this channel, you would have seen Top Gun. I almost think it's a requirement if you're any type of an aviation enthusiast to know what he's talking about in the actual movie. And it's kind of funny because I've flown a cargo plane out of Hong Kong. Am I Maverick? In all seriousness, I know right now for a lot of my friends that fly passengers, it's a tough time. And I'm hoping things start to improve here soon. And it's starting to seem that way. Truthfully, there are a lot of people that think flying cargo is better and others that think flying passengers are better. Luckily, I get to do both. And there's advantages and disadvantages of both. I will say I've flown out of LaGuardia a bunch, obviously not on the 747, but I have flown out of LaGuardia a bunch. It's a very tight airspace. Getting around and moving around that airport, I've had over an hour-long taxi just to get ready to take off before. It's just not a perfect location as far as for how things are laid out when you're the reason an item is on the checklist. Oh, Gary Busey. So something that happens in aviation is if something gets messed up, obviously we'll use the FAA as an example here in the US. If something gets messed up, the FAA obviously wants that airline to show them why that thing is never going to happen again. And that makes sense. So you'll have things like a before takeoff checklist as an example, because maybe somebody forgot to put the flaps down before takeoff. Things like that. All these different checklists that have happened usually happen because some crew forgot to do the thing that you need to do in order to do the thing that you're supposed to be doing.
But I have no idea what you're saying.
Anyway, I have been at airlines where there's a new checklist that comes out because somebody forgot to do something. And I don't think usually you're going to have a face looking like that. If you did it, I know that wouldn't be my face, but you know, some people are really proud of their mistakes. Government, work from home, airport baggage handlers. You know, I have slung bags before. When I did charters as a first officer, when I was first doing charters, I had to carry the bags on myself. And you would think that you'd be very gentle and things like that if it was your own bag, and it's true. But after you start moving a lot of bags, you know, 10, 20, 30, or like these people are doing that are loading a 747 or a large plane, there's a point where you just have to get the plane loaded. If they move super, super slow, you either would be waiting a lot to leave and you'd be waiting forever to get your bag once you land. I know traveling right now is frustrating and stressful as it is, and as soon as you land, you want to get your bag and go to your next place. So these people are moving as fast as they can. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rules. I have seen people who are checking bags and being really, really tough with them, but they're trying to move as efficiently as they can. And I've slung bags before, so I know it is not as easy as you might think. But maybe one day you can go throw bags for a week and see just how long it takes before you start throwing them instead of gently setting them on the belt. Part 141 instructors. Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Part 61 instructors. Listen up, motherfuckers. I did part 61. I think a lot of you know that I did part 61 flying. And I've heard both. I've heard them say the part 141 guys are very difficult. And I've heard the part 61 guys are very difficult. I think the reality of it is depends on who your instructor is and who the school is. If you aren't familiar with Part 61 and Part 141, it's the two different types of schools that pilots can go to in the US to get their license. One is a very rigid program that's all very structured and laid out. The other one is more of a do it at your own pace, and it's got not the same amount of regulations. So you need more flight time in order to get all your licenses, but sometimes it's cheaper. And the other way is very structured and rigid, and there's checks and stage checks and things like that. And so it's two different ways to do it. Some work better in one, some work better in others. Obviously, I knew there was going to be a meme from this guy. There just had to be with how much stuff people were talking about him. Select all the squares with Boeing 747. Journalists be like... I love Keel and Peele. If you guys haven't seen their show, it is so funny. I love some of their shows. Every now and again, I'll put one of their clips in these videos, but I don't know if that is from that, but it looks like it. Anyways, it's a really funny show those guys do. I've seen different stories where they're talking about maybe an Airbus A320 that had an accident, and then there's a picture of a Boeing 747. Obviously, the 747 is a super iconic plane. Everybody knows what it looks like, or they would know that that's a very identifiable plane with the hump. But not everybody knows it. It's just they know that name. Some of you may remember the story, and I don't remember what video it is on, but I was sitting next to a girl. I think it was another Aviation memes video. I was sitting next to this girl on a plane, and she said, "Oh, I flew here on a 747." And I was thinking, no, you didn't come in on a 747 because this airline hasn't had 747s for like 20 years, and the girl was maybe 20. So it is definitely something that people know the name, which is cool for me because if somebody says, "Oh, what plane do you fly?" and I say, "Oh, I fly a Boeing 747. They know what I'm talking about. A lot of the other planes I flew, like a Jetstream and a CRJ, people are like, "I don't know what that is." So it's cool to fly that, even though they don't really have the idea of how large the plane is until they actually walk up and see it. Then you really see how big this plane actually is. But the good thing is, people know the name. I'm a pilot. Pilots. Cute girl. This is 100% true. If you decide to become a pilot, you'll know that that's something that, I don't know, you could say that we flex on. I know that I end up finding a way to weave it into every conversation, it seems like as quickly as I can. And even while I'm doing it, I'm thinking to myself, why am I saying this? The reality is, a lot of girls don't even care. It's definitely something that I'm proud of. It obviously took me a lot of work to get here, so it makes sense for me to bring it up. But it's true that a lot of pilots will instantly try to flex on just the fact that they're a pilot, and maybe they'll say C-130, C-152, they'll do one of those things to kind of hide, maybe if they're early on in their career. The truth is, no matter where you're at in your career, you should be proud of it. The fact that you made it through flight training, if you're getting paid to fly a plane, I really can't think of anything better as far as getting up in the sky and then just seeing everything in the world. I really enjoy it. It doesn't feel like a job to me most of the time. Obviously, like every job, there's going to be points where you get irritated about one thing or another. But for the most part, it is a really cool job. So we want to flex on how cool it is and how much we love our job, which sometimes people don't like because sometimes they hate their job. Everybody else on frequency, old-ass pilots who refuse to use a headset and yell into the hand mic. The other thing that you don't really see memes on is sometimes you'll see older pilots that will use the in-plane headsets, which are old telexes, which don't have any noise canceling, which they have the volume maxed out all the way. And actually, on my flight up here today, I was flying with a Czech airman, and he had on one of those headsets. And he started talking, and he took his headset off, and he wanted to use a hand mic, kind of like this meme, so hopefully he doesn't see this video. But he said something to me like, "Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of people are whispering." And I leaned up and I go, "People aren't whispering, it's that you are using that crappy headset, so we're talking at a normal volume, but you have the volume all the way maxed out because you're losing your hearing because you have no noise canceling and you're sitting in this plane for 12, 13, 14 hours at a time." I don't think he liked my response. But the truth is regardless of what brand you go to, protect your hearing. If you're going to spend 30 or 40 years flying planes, it's the one thing that's really hard or annoying to get back. Get a good headset, let it last 8, 10, 12 years, and in the long run, when you're an old man or an old woman, you'll have your hearing, which you may not want because you may not want to hear your husband or wife complain about something. Tower controllers, me on my first solo. Get ready, everyone. He's about to do something stupid. I don't know if air traffic controllers, and I know I have a few that watch this channel, I don't know if you all do this, but I know when I did my first solo, I was 100% sure that is exactly what was happening. I got put on a different runway, a runway they don't normally use, and I was going out there, and I'll be honest, they were not pretty. My first couple landings were all over the place. It felt something like that scene out of Top Gun where Maverick was flying down and the guy was all over the place trying to land the plane. That's kind of what those landings look like. But I'm curious if you're air traffic controller, if you can leave me a comment and let me know if you guys get up there and have a laugh, because I think it would be kind of funny watching people land for the first time. You could be a little bit nervous or scared or whatever, and the truth is that you can always go around, you can always do it again. Unfortunately, a lot of pilots want to be very good, and that makes sense, and it's good to have that attitude and always be looking at ways that you can improve, but realize it's going to happen over time. I've seen pilots that still have bad landings every now and again, so don't worry about it. If you're going to go do your solo, realize one, you can always go around if it doesn't look good, and two, don't worry about what air traffic control thinks about you. Hey, they're going to make mistakes too. It's just the world that we live in. When they go through, they have a lot of training, a lot of coaching with someone sitting there behind them. If you have a lot of years flying planes, in your experience, what you'll hear is an air traffic controller who's new on the radio and they're doing something, and somebody will step over them. There's actually a guy who can actually step over and speak over that person in case he wants to give better instructions or more clear instructions to the pilots. The difference is that it's not you in a plane and feeling like the whole world is watching. The reality is nobody cares, and it doesn't really matter where you start. It all matters where you finish. So don't sweat it if your first few landings suck. It's all good. My face as I watch a passenger try to shove their luggage in a bin when I already said it clearly won't fit. I'm not sure who put the Kardashians in the aviation memes, but I think Kourtney's probably the hottest, if you ask my opinion. There are so many aviation memes about this, and here is what I'm going to tell you. If you get on and the flight attendant says that won't fit, unless you're a pilot and you know for a fact because you flew that plane, and I've had gate agents when I'm walking on a plane go, I don't know that that bag's going to fit, and I said, I flew this plane for years, I know for a fact it will fit, and I made it fit.
That's what she said.
If you're just a normal passenger or you have a new bag and the flight attendant said that's probably not going to fit, it's better to just leave it there on the jet bridge, let it go underneath the belly of the plane, because it is so annoying to them when you walk onto the plane, walk all the way back, get to your seat and try to put it in there and it doesn't fit. And then now you have to go back against the flow of all the passengers, or you got to go all the way back into the galley or whatever. I know that's something that irritates them so much. The other thing you could do is you could try to put it in one of the overheads before you get all the way in the back. That way you only have to go 2 rows. But the easiest is if the flight attendant says it won't fit, just leave it on the jet bridge. They will love you for it. Meanwhile, in aviation, cargo pilot packs. This meme's been going around for like everything that has to do with aviation. And the truth is right now, obviously, a lot of the PAX pilots, a lot of my friends that fly passengers are really envious that I've been flying, and we've been flying a lot, and things haven't really slowed down a lot for us. It's seeming like things are starting to pick up for passenger pilots, and I'm really happy for a lot of them that are starting to get back to work, because I know a lot of you have been frustrated sitting at home and you can't wait to go fly again. So I'm very happy about that. Obviously, being a cargo pilot, there's a lot of people that think it's not very glamorous, and like every job, it's got its good and its bad. I've had people who have flown passengers their whole life, and then they start flying cargo, and they go, I'll never go back. The truth is I like doing both. So that's what's cool about my job, is that I can fly passengers sometimes, I can fly cargo sometimes, and I really enjoy doing both. I think I would get bored if I had to only do one. For example, when you're flying passengers and you got 16 flight attendants and you got to get 400 something people off the plane after you've flown for 12 hours, you just want to get off the plane. That's a little bit annoying. But then on a layover, you have a big group of people to pick from to go do something that you want to do, and that's really cool. And speaking about flying cargo and flying with flight attendants, if you haven't heard about my series, Cockpit Confessionals, it's my only non-family friendly series that I do on the channel. And I talk about behind the scenes stuff like the flight attendant who steals a hotel shuttle van and they find her several states away, to the pilot who thought it was totally cool to walk around the plane totally naked in nothing but cowboy boots. If you haven't seen this series, I'm going to put a link to it right here. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.